Good evening! Tonight, we're back with more soloing challenge. So, this time, we're going to be attempting Sohm. I'm pretty sure it can be done. After that, I was thinking maybe we'll see if we can... I'm pretty confident that a Blue Mage can solo Ravana. I'm pretty sure that a regular job can't, simply because there's a DPS check and an overwhelming amount of damage. And Warrior doesn't have Raw Intuition yet. After that, I will probably try and go into the Aery, but I already know that we can't defeat the final boss. But it might be interesting to see if we can beat, you know, the rest of the dungeon. Like, just to see how far we can get. But I know that the final boss has, like, a mechanic where you get locked and you need someone to save you. And there's nothing you can do about it synced. Like, the best option you have is like, well, I mean, a Dark Knight could put down Salted Earth, but that will not kill it. Assuming that a Dark Knight could even get to the final boss, Nidhogg. You could also do Doton with a ninja, but a ninja cannot reach the final boss, let alone the first boss. So we'll see how far we can get. Just to see it, instead of just giving up outright. And, well, then we have the vault, depending on what the time is by then. But yeah, that's the plan. We're going to start Sohm with Gunbreaker. I'm pretty sure that's our best option. At level 54? 54. Well, it's either 53 or 54, depending on whether we do minimum level or not. The power difference is that at level 54 we would of course have significantly more HP, and we would have Sonic Break. But at 53 we would be going into Sohm with the same toolkit we had for Dusk Vigil. I'm kind of like either or on that, so how about we vote on it? Right. Well, we figured that out. Hey Kitsuneko, hey Ymir, hey Gilano, hey Matthew. I hope you're all doing well. So, one thing that is worth mentioning is that while Sonic Break will be great damage to have, like it's 900 potency every No Mercy, assuming that we actually have the free GCD to use it. The key thing here being that using Sonic Break means that we're not using 1-2-3 combos. And this is a similar problem that we had in Dusk Vigil. Even though we had cartridges to spend, it was pretty common that we didn't have GCDs to spend on Burst Strike. So even though we had the choice, we had the option, it didn't actually offer us very much. Because we needed the healing. Like, sometimes we would just do 1-2 combos to just, like, survive. Especially on the first boss. So it will probably not be, like, a massive difference. It's mainly probably the stats from being level 54 that would be making the big splash, so to speak. Exactly, Matthew. I'm pretty sure even if the final boss in the Aery is flat out impossible, the rest of the dungeon is still very interesting. Just to try it. Right. Well, it looks like it's a pretty strict majority that says level 53, so we will do it as level 53. Did I forget anything? We will need potion. I will know which potion once we're inside, I think. Max potion. Here we are. Do we need anything else? Food buff? Oh yeah, true. Ymir has been Lyngstar for a long time. So this first pack seems relatively straightforward. They don't really have the power to... Oh, maybe they do. Hey Zekna, hope you're doing well. As long as we spend at most 30 minutes per boss, we're not behind on time, and then I can play extremely defensively and carefully. Rather than rushing and dying. I'm pretty sure, like, whatever we do, I won't be able to, like, pull multiple mobs and AoE them down before it's too late and I die. Meow. Oh boy. Do I get the big plant with that? Or... I do, wonderful. Can I not have to deal with that by just moving really, really far away, maybe? They have, like, multi-hit attacks. I should not have pulled with my potion on cooldown, that's for certain. Which one of them is it that uses Scratch Fever? I just need one of them to die, then we have made progress. Meow. It's the meow of death. Ow. Well, one mob at a time, I guess. I should not have pulled that with my potion and stuff on cooldown. That was a bad choice. Hey Lemon, I hope you're doing well. I'm guessing it's the plant that has the Scratch Fever, even though it makes more sense that it would be the cat. Given that it's a scratch. I think it's the plant. I'm relatively confident that that it's the plant doing the action. Oh boy. This beginning is a little rough. I believe the next room has even harder packs. But as long as we can keep up with the timer, it should be fine. Meow. If you've ever seen me do this dungeon on stream, you will typically see that I always run directly for the Drake Spur and deal with it. The reason for that is that those pollen clusters, they hurt so much, and I'm relatively sure that it like spawns them in bursts. I'm not entirely sure on the mechanics of it, but that's why. Oh, now I have to wait for this poison to go out. That's 3 mobs, right? 2 flying killers and wait a minute. Oh. I'll use my sprint to sneak in as much free damage as I can before it reaches me. Ow. Ah, they hit so hard. I wasted some potential, and it turns out that it is actually the cats that do the scratch fever. I took so much damage there all of a sudden. I don't have anything to heal myself, so we're basically going down again. Crap. I think this might have been, aside from when we went into Wanderer's Palace, this might be the roughest start in a dungeon we've had on one of these streams. And just 1 mob at a time, because the 3 packs are just too much. Now we know, just when there's like 2 or 3 cats left, that those are actually the dangerous mobs. Hey Tracy, how are you doing? Hmm. These cats. It is very fascinating that doing these dungeons solo like this really gives time to highlight what enemies are actually the scary ones. Like, I know that these pulls at the start of Sohm are quite scary. Like, the mobs can be kind of overwhelming at times. But the thing that I've noticed in a lot of dungeons when doing these solo streams is that the mobs that turn out to be extremely scary, or like the packs that are really scary to do on solo, or rather that are scary to do in a normal party, tend to be the ones where there's like, oh yeah, there's like 2 or 3 mobs that have like an OGCD or like an extra attack they sneak in between their auto attacks. Like, it's almost always like that. Or it has at least turned out that way in pretty much every single dungeon. Like, the reason why the first few pulls in Aurum Vale are so scary is because the mushroom guys at the start of the dungeon has an OGCD attack they can use. That just hits just as hard as their regular attack. So like every few seconds they'll just punch you twice. Turns out that hurts. And that it still hurts even if you have a dedicated healer in your group to keep you alive. It still hurts. Okay, so the scary one is actually the cat. So let's start by whittling down the cat. I'm pretty sure it's just the cat that's scary. Like the Ochus are scary in their own right, simply because they are mobs, and mobs can hurt you. But the cat really hurts. So if I can just get rid of that, I'm pretty sure I can relatively easily deal with the plants afterwards. Why are you so powerful, flying killer? Why is this your name? Why are you like this? I don't even know if I can recover after this. So many super polites. And so much kiting. I don't know if it's because of the 1 level difference that it is this much harder. I doubt that that's the case, but it's really insane how big of a difference this dungeon is from the last one. Oh boy. We managed to do a 3-pack without wiping. What do you think? Now we're almost at the first boss, and we still have 15 minutes before we'll fall behind. I'll do that 20 more times. I have a feeling that the rest of the dungeon might not be as hard somehow. Well, the regular packs, because many of them are like specifically 2 mob packs and things like that. This ranged physical tank is looking pretty cool. Yeah, I know. Quite surprising that it turned out that Gunbreaker actually was more gun than breaker all this time, you thought. What's next? Well, green DPS. Well, wait, actually, red healer or red tank is what I'm guessing is coming up next. Okay, it has a sudden tank buster. Good to know. What does acid rain do? So here's the thing, we basically have to kill all of the ads, because I believe it gives the boss a damage boost if we let the ads get to it. So we have to make sure it doesn't get that, while also keeping up the pressure and don't let the fight drag on for too long. But I also need to stay alive. Can I stun you? No. Fair enough. And the reason why I'm just spamming Brutal Shell like this is because if I suddenly start greeding too hard and just spending all of my healing resources just because I can, then the boss might sneak up on me with some damage. And then I'm on the back foot. So it's just not worth the risk. Oh, wait. I need to make sure that I'm not pointing at the hornets. Otherwise, it'll just shove the hornets right at it. I don't know if I can actually prevent it from getting hornets now that I'm looking at it. Like, look at this. That hornet is just going to make it. I don't actually think I can do any damage if I have to keep focusing on dealing with the ads. I have to just go for it. Oh, its damage buff actually just disappeared. So apparently after that intermission, it just, like, stops and resets. Well, that means I don't have to deal with the hornets after all. Depends on how big the damage buff is, of course. But that changes some things. Because that spit attack did nothing. What's Leaf Storm? Oh. I think I can manage that. Yeah, Gelano, this is the dungeon with the big T-Rex looking guy with the big blob DPS check. However, I don't even know if it's nearly as much of a DPS check after the rework. So it might not be a problem. It seems like the Hornet thing is just like an intermission that it does at a certain HP threshold. Spinning around. Spinning around. Can I attack speed slow you? Guess not. Hey Omega Light, I hope you're doing well. Think you made it dizzy? I hope I made it dizzy. What can we do? This is either my opportunity to like just try and fish for as much damage as I can, or I need to start killing the Hornets. But it depends on whether the damage it actually gets from the Hornets is worth worrying about. And I need to know. I need to know. How's the dungeon going? Great to hear that you're doing great, or doing fine. It's okay. We died multiple times on the trash leading up to the boss. But what we discovered is that this stacking damage buff that the boss gets actually disappears after it's done sucking in mobs here. So it actually changes the dynamic from this being like, oh, you need to kill the ads, to instead being, this is the moment to strike. Because the spit does nothing. As you can see, it's like nearly nothing. It's just the most free damage. But yeah, it looks like we're going to finish the first boss in like 25 minutes or so. Raskotnik. Ow. If I know anything about first bosses. What? That they're the scariest ones? Actually, to be honest, most of the dungeon challenge stuff here has been like the first boss is an outright nightmare compared to the rest of the dungeon. So you might be right on that. But I also had a feeling that the rest of the trash packs in the dungeon might be easier, so we might be onto something. We might have beaten the hard part. Welcome to Realm Reborn and Heavensward. We have on-telegraph tank busters. That is actually some of the scariest stuff. Is that like the best I can do against packs like that is to just like use my defensive cooldowns. Whenever, because I don't know when the attack is coming, so the best I can do is just minimize the damage I'm taking just in general. Trash is pretty dangerous. It is. It can pile up, and really, if you leave it out for too long, then it just gets smelly. It's in your food. It's in your blood. It's in your thoughts. So the big problem and weakness with Gunbreaker in some ways. Both its biggest strength and biggest weakness among the tanks is that Gunbreaker specifically has the choice, the option, to focus more heavily on healing, like just doing 1-2 combos. The problem is that we've reached a point where the trash packs are so strong. Uh-oh. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. That might be alleviated by them wasting time on casting things, but that reflective strike there with the blaze spikes, that's not fun. Just no fun at all. And here it comes again, and I could have stunned that, but I didn't. How much damage are we talking? Oh, 250 per hit. So every time I hit you, you just get a free half of an auto attack on me? Wonderful. I like it. Somehow, some way, that is still less scary than a flying killer. Also known as a tiny cat. With wings. Isn't that incredible? But yeah, the interesting thing with Gunbreakers, like healing, like passive healing over the course of a fight, is that you can actually like micro adjust how much self-healing you're getting, because you can choose to do Brutal Shell every second, every third, or every fourth GCD, so you can like choose between whether you're getting 200 cure potency per GCD on average, or like closer to 150 or so, or 100, depending on how many of the other things you use. Like if you actually finish the combo with Solid Barrel, that cuts down, like that extends it to 3 GCDs, and if you go all the way and spend your cartridges, you can make it even longer. And if you're sitting on full HP, you can just, like, you can actually have a stockpiled burst ready to go. When, like, if the boss isn't really doing anything back. Why is this dragon hitting half as hard as the lizards from before? This guy is swinging at me for, like, 250, while the lizards that were defending it did 500. Really weird. Strange balance. I believe the Iruka didn't do anything, like it just smacked me. So I think I'm going to go for the other thing. Oh yes, the random caterpillar mob hits for 600, is that right? But the scary thing about that decision as a Gunbreaker is that if you're only using your 1-2 combo, you're not doing very much damage. Like, you're just not doing very much damage. So you might not actually be able to kill the mobs before they overwhelm you. Oh, my food buff is running out. Because it is a little bit like doing a big wall-to-wall pull in a dungeon normally, is that while you can like sustain yourself for a really, really, really long time, you need to finish it like today, because you only have so many cooldowns to work with. So even if it gives, like, Gunbreaker has the highest self-healing amongst the tanks at this level, it doesn't matter if you make use of it, if you don't, like, if you can't outpace the damage the enemy is going to be doing to you, because then you're just 950 from this. What are you eating? Is it because you're a caterpillar feeding on dragons, or what's happening here? Wow. Oh wait, that's a 3 mob pack. I thought we were done with that. Omega Light says, really, I thought Marauder had more heals. Raw Intuition is level 56, we're level 53. So, until 56, Warrior has a 1-2-3 combo that heals for 250 potency, while Gunbreaker has a 1-2 combo that heals for 200 and shields for 200, which is basically 400. And then you also have Aurora. Warrior also has its... Oh, our vulnerability debuff! Oh, my favorite! This is going to be difficult. I need to kill off one of them in one go, otherwise this isn't going to work. Did I just get hit by that? That was not smart. You also have Thrill of Battle as a warrior, which gives you like a 20% HP heal, and if that can like bring you up to a point where your potion heals for more, that can like lead to... Because of the fact that you use potions for this, you can do some like smart strategies with that. But until you reach level 56, Warrior is a little bit handicapped compared to what you'd normally expect. You know what? I can't beat these two. I can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave. Like I'm just leaving. Or maybe not? Tactical retreat, exactly. Oh! That got a little close. I was one hit away. Mainly because one of those guys can crit for 900. The thing is, I could just as well just had let them kill me, but I would have to do the whole run back anyway. And my cooldowns are just about to be ready again. So it's just easier and a little bit... I actually forgot to eat my food buff. It's a little time save to just run away. The bigger they are, the cuddlier they be. The cuddlier they look, the less threatening they look, the more damage they deal, apparently, in dungeons. Interesting design decision. You're not pulling the dragon, are you? Huh? Okay, I guess we're doing this instead. The mix-up you didn't expect. The dragon choosing to fight us first. More sprites. I wish those sprites did damage to the mobs when they exploded. That would be really funny. I really hoped I could interrupt that. Nope. So the good news about the weird snail plant monster weird thing is that it regularly uses an action that I can dodge. The thing is, I've talked about this previously in these streams, is that the thing that makes the first boss in a dungeon scary a lot of the time is that it doesn't actually have a lot of mechanics. And the reason why that weirdly makes it scarier is that the scariest thing a boss can do in a solo challenge, aside from doing something that just stun locks you to death, of course, is swing at you just endlessly without pause. Especially if it can do it at range, so you can't kite it or do some sort of other shenanigans. That is the scariest thing it can do. Thank you, Omega Light. Enjoy your day. Let's do that guy first. I should have sprinted first. I'm gonna have kited them for longer. I should also actually start by stunning one of them instead of opening with a cooldown of my own. Then I could chain into another stun. Should keep that in mind for the future. Well, the trash leading up to the second boss took significantly less time. It at least feels like it did. Like 12 minutes? You better not have like a surprise attack of some sort, because I'm just barely holding on. There we go. Second boss. So the scary thing about this boss is that it has this mechanic where it throws blobs. Half of the blobs it throws are spread markers, and the other half are stack markers. And, well, tanks usually can live the stack marker, but that's because you have a healer. So that might be scary. Normally, back in the day, at least, the boss would also eventually have like a green blob that you had to kill as like a DPS check. And if you didn't kill it and you didn't kill the boss, you pretty much just wiped. I don't know if that still is in the fight after its rework. But we'll have to see about that. So you have two different surprise tank busters. I like it. Cool. Not exactly what I had hoped for. Just two tank busters. Yep, just straight up two tank busters on the regular. It just uses whenever it feels like it. That is going to make this a really, really tough fight just on the like self-healing check. I don't know if I can even survive it. It's just outpacing my healing casually here. If I can live to this point, survive this, Okay, okay, it's still attacking in between. You better not do that in between. Oh boy. I have a heal over time effect just sitting there and I'm not even using it. Here comes the bad part, because I have my invuln, but if I use that, I die afterwards pretty much. Oh man, 3,000. I don't have that kind of health. And here comes the tank buster. My only survival option here is to outrun it until I can use potion. Ah. That's true, Ymir. La Habrea used to be an 8-man boss fight. Yeah, fight this T-Rex, it's got hand. We might be able to do it if we had one more level. The question is whether I'd want to go rewind like 40 minutes just to change that. I'm not sure if it would be enough. But there is a case of it outpaces my self-healing. That is the crux of the problem here, is that it, like, I need to make it to the part where it summons the blobs and deals with that without going like completely out of healing options. So one way I can go about that is by not opening, by using like a bunch of cooldowns just to like push a little bit of damage, but at the same time, if I don't push damage, then we're going to be in that slow burn part of the fight for even longer. So I'm not sure if there's any way to go about this that would actually help. Give Aflato's Rapture one more potency. Specifically one more potency. Why specifically one potency? That's all it needs to become what? Or is it like it just needs it? Oh, you mean Aflato's Misery. Sorry. Am I overlooking something? Am I missing something? I don't think there's anything I could do different to survive better here. The tail? I mean, I can't attack the tail. Oh, my invuln's going to run out right there. Can you kite the tail? It's smacking you with it. I mean, I was trying to spin the boss before to dodge it, but it seems like, even though it looks like a cleave, that it seems like it's centered on me. So it doesn't really matter whether I try to, like, dance around it. Can you kite the tail? Technically, I can kite it. That's why I keep, like, stepping away from the boss. The problem is that the boss walks slightly faster than me. So if I try to kite it in circles, it will get to me every now and then. And the thing with enemies that have, well, basically an OGCD attack. So enemies that like have like a surprise tank buster like that, they'll do auto attacks and then just suddenly do an action on top of that. They will both do the auto attack and the action when they get in within range. So if I just kite the boss, then I can't use Brutal Shell. And if I can't use Brutal Shell, then I lose the majority of my healing. So that's why I'm not too keen on kiting too much, but I'm trying to make it lose a little bit of its auto attack damage by stepping away from it every time I can't do anything. I can try and circle around it a little bit more. You see, I wasn't really in it, but it still hit me with the tail. So this is actually a pretty good illustration of the weakness of Gunbreaker, is that I have to choose between healing myself and dealing damage. And both choices are bad, because if I try healing myself more, then it means I stay in this phase where the boss is just wailing at me like this for longer. And I'm going to lose that, battle of attrition. But if I go for the damage, then I don't have enough healing to keep myself up. And then I just die sooner. I don't think I can do it. Not at level 53. I don't know if 54 would do it. But I don't think I can do it. Hey Riku, how are you doing? It's just annoying that I have to go back and do the first bit of the dungeon to do it again, but I can't do this at 53. I cannot do it. We can't even survive a fourth of the fight. So even if I found a way to reach past that, we would have 3/4 of the fight left. You come down with the sickness. That's not good. I hope you get better soon. We'll go in again. I'll try at level 54. I'd rather see if we can do it than just give up. So we're going again. We're trying again. I just have to reach that point again, which is a little awkward. The original reason why we started at 52 in the in Dusk Vigil last time was more so because I had the strong confidence that the dungeon was literally not possible to be beaten. But then we beat it, like, quite handily, honestly. So now I felt like it was only right to see if maybe I had, like, overestimated the difficulty of the Heavensward dungeons. Exactly, Dusk Vigil was a surprise win. It's even funnier that both the second and third boss was way easier than the first. Speaking of easier, look at this. 1 level, and now I'm just beating over 2 mobs, no problem. Where before, like, yeah, it was 2 mobs would be survivable, but this is like a completely different situation. So that the 1 level seems to matter a lot. That is also the rule of this challenge. Can it be beaten at minimum level? Then we do it at minimum level. But if it can't be done, then we'll have to see if we can do it at just synced. Right, so now we know it's the cat. It's the bad guy that we want to deal with. The plants don't really care, but the cat is the big bad guy. I think at least. Wait a minute. How much HP did I have before? Did anyone check that? How much HP did I have when I was level 53? Because I'm pretty sure I didn't have 10,000. Huh? Like, yeah, exactly, like 8,000 or so. What? Well, turns out that there is both level and item level sync on Heavensward dungeons. What? Yeah, so what made me aware of that is that I'm not using the correct potion anymore. I should really be using super potions. I don't have as many of those, so maybe I should, well, I don't think I'm going to be using 73 of them in 86 minutes. Like, that would be almost every minute I'd be using a potion. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I should be using super potions. Yeah, minimum item level does in fact mean minimum item level as well as level. Yeah, that's true. I did notice that the dungeon said, I believe it said minimum, it said item level sync was 105. But I didn't even consider that it would set me down to 105 and that that was significantly less than what I would have if I was just synced. It makes sense that it is like that. It makes sense that it is like that, but it's like 25% of a difference. It's a little insane. Oh. Surprise bonus cluster. Well, that certainly explains why these flying killers are suddenly more easy to deal with. Well, in that case, I'm pretty confident now that we might be able to beat the T-Rex monster with 25% more HP and probably like 25% more everything. 25% more damage, 25% more healing, all of the good stuff. It also means we'll catch up faster. Are you winning, son? Well... Hey, Skeleton. Thank you for checking in. They were just big to start. Yeah, the mobs. I mean, Sonic Break is also going to be doing some awesome things for our damage, but this is way, way easier, certainly. Between the item levels in post AR. Oh yeah, that's true. That's very true. Is that the reason why we sort of phased out the minimum item level requirement to the challenge in post AR was specifically because, like, Wondrous Palace, I believe they allowed you to enter with like Ironworks Magitech gear as it is, with no syncing, or maybe like you would get synced like 100, but if you did minimum, you got like item level 45 exactly. Like you get over double the HP. That's maybe a little too big of a difference. But I would always rather try if it's possible. It's just the HP difference also means that like it's not super fun if we discover that in retrospect, if I just entered at the one level higher to begin with, then we would have been able to do it. So like we didn't waste that time. It's 133 at level 54, so it's 28 item levels of a difference. Now I also need to not fall asleep on this. These two plants are actually giving me quite a beating right now. Now your turn. Now it's just you and me. And this Sonic Break taking on you for massive damage. I have a feeling that the general conclusion on that is that doing the Heavensward dungeons on minimum item level might not be possible. Like, that 20 to 30 item level difference just seems way too big. That unless a boss has, like, some reason that it's just incredibly easy, I just don't think that it's generally possible. Just because, like, bosses might just win by just bonking with auto attacks. But that would also mean that when we do the Aery, we would be able to get... if we do it at 56, we would be able to do it with Warrior. With Raw Intuition. And then we pretty much only have the excuse that either it cannot be done at all, or I'm doing something wrong. Do we have every cooldown? Yeah, we do. I think I got... I think I got 4 burst strikes in somehow. Huh. Wild. I should have just used burst strike there. Right, and we learned, ignore the boss mechanic, just kill the boss, Lamau. This is the free damage opportunity. Well, when you're not getting stunned. Ooh, diminishing returns. Yeah, this is like a world of a difference in difficulty. Like, this boss wasn't that difficult, but suddenly I'm not like feeling like I need to use my healing all the time just to stay afloat. And we're sort of progressing the boss forwards at a decent pace. Oh right, there's the leaf storm. Himia says, have you watched my clip? I have not. I usually watch the tea time, the clip reviews during tea time. So typically it's like the first time I see them. So it's like a combined teaching moment and also me actually experiencing the clip for the first time. So I've not watched it yet. We won't be able to join the next tea time. Well, we'll see. Because of work. Well, we'll see when, what time at the day that the tea time happens. But yeah, I haven't checked it yet. It's... You know what? Actually, that second spit with 6 stacks did double the damage of the one with 2, I'm pretty sure. It seems like the stacks are like exponentially increasing in damage. It's not incredibly scary, but it's a decent increase. It's just not enough to be that threatening. Like, if you're playing a job that can otherwise beat this boss, then you're probably fine. Like, it's better to just ignore that mechanic. Now, in a normal dungeon group... Ow. In a normal dungeon group, on the one hand, you would possibly be able to kill the boss before it becomes a problem. But the way that that kind of mechanic becomes a problem is that, you know, because it's a raid-wide attack, it's 4 times the damage spread across the team. You work from 8 to 17. Well, I've moved the tea times to be a little later in the day, so maybe that helps. You can see in the previous weekly schedules, you can see that the previous tea time was a little bit later in the day. So maybe that helps. It depends on when we like do it. Unless it's on Friday. Well, it's probably going to be on a Thursday. I think we're like nearly 10 minutes ahead of our previous try, one level lower. Is that right? Like around 10 minutes ahead. I think. You have 5 PMT. I mean, I have 8 PMT. And 9 PMT. Yeah, just one level. Yeah. Just quietly ignore the item levels. Wow. I nearly just immediately killed. Like, I actually, if I want to optimize my damage a bit, I need to like switch targets so that Sonic Break gets to play out. Wow. Yeah, gear doesn't matter at all. No. I want to like just point out, we've gotten a long way with Gunbreaker from the days of Copperbell Mines with no pants. Or boots. Yeah, true. I think we also ended up not having gloves. We've gone a long way from the days of having to make it more challenging while at minimum level and everything. So now where it's like, well, just to stand a chance at winning at all, we need all the help we can get. The only thing that I haven't done has been like looking for like using tinctures or something. Adrio says, I wish there were achievements for soloing a dungeon synced like this. Yeah, I know what you mean. That would actually be really cool. But I understand why they might not add that. Because if they add achievements like that, by the way they have made Final Fantasy XIV, it would give like the impression that it's supposed to be possible that you can do it. And some dungeons just might not be possible to solo. So it might like lead people to some really unenjoyable tactics to just try and do it. Exactly, if they add those, they would have to quality assurance that as well. They would have to make sure that it's actually possible. Otherwise, there's no point to the achievement. And I think that the fact that it kind of would have to be possible, to be reasonable to have it, would take the excitement out of the thing in the first place. Like, the thing that makes it fun to solo like this is the fact that it's not really supposed to be possible, right? Like, that's what actually makes it so much fun, is that you're not supposed to be able to do this. But if they start adding achievements for it, then they would have to kind of make sure that you can do it, or they would have to like intentionally remove dungeons from the list that they discover can't be soloed and things like that. Or they would have to adjust the dungeons so that they act slightly different when you're alone. And I mean, if they do that, then they might as well just, you know, that's just one step beyond duty support. Why have to do dungeons with 3 NPCs if they can just make the dungeon soloable in the first place, right? Like, why not just make it a difficult challenge but soloable? And then we just have like the you could say like the Dark Souls version of difficulty, which is a difficult, like a valid difficulty. I'm not saying or discounting that in any way, but more to say that the way that you can make a boss fight easier in Dark Souls is by bringing friends, right? Are any of 09, 010, 011 possible? I'm pretty sure I've seen 09 soloed. I believe 011, I'm pretty sure you can't solo that one because there is a mechanic where you have to click like a bonus action, like really fast. But you need at least 2 players to be able to do it fast enough. So unless you can reach like a health amount where you don't die to the mechanic if you fail it, I'm pretty sure you can't do that. Then it's not possible to solo it. But you could probably do it too, man. 09, I'm pretty sure I've seen soloed on Savage, I think. I'm pretty sure. I know that 012 you can solo phase 2. The key thing is that you can only solo phase 2. You need a friend to get you to phase 2. And hey, if you brought a friend anyway, why not just make them help you with the phase 2 as well while you're there? I mean, all on Savage. I kind of expected that you meant that. 09, pretty sure you can solo that. I attempted it a while back on stream, and I couldn't do it because of a very like tight check on something. With the higher item level we have nowadays, it might be possible, but I don't think you can do it with just any job. I was doing it with Warrior, because you need a lot of self-healing to do it. Exactly, Tracy. It is an MMO, after all. So it makes sense to have content be done with people. But I think 09S is your best option to get some gear, but the thing is that 09S doesn't drop all of it. Only some of that. I'm pretty sure 09S primarily drops like this side, like accessories. We should wait for Nebula. The first pull is the best chance we have of beating it, because then I get to start with 2 cartridges. On every pull after the first, we just don't have those. So I want to make sure that I get the most value out of the first try. I don't know if 010S is soloable. Is that the Midgard's armor fight? I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know if there's anything in that one in particular that would prevent you from soloing it. Hey 3MR, yeah, we're soloing synced. We just went through reaching this boss at minimum level as well, only to find that the boss did way too much damage, so I had to go all the way back and try again. Ethereal Oblivion says Gunbreaker's an interesting choice. Well, when you get Aurora, Gunbreaker's pretty much the king of self-healing amongst the tanks until Warrior gets Raw Intuition. And we get Raw Intuition at 56. So the instant we have access to Raw Intuition, it's just going to be Warrior for the rest. But until then, Gunbreaker is going to be king. Oh, that did a lot of damage. Oh, 9S is suitable, is soloable. And the rest can be duoed. Right. so far away. Just going to try and see if I can rush it a little bit. Now that we have some self-healing up and running. It's a little scary, because due to how the situation has played out, I'm getting all of my healing buttons like almost next to each other, and then there's just nothing for a minute, so I just have Brutal Shell. So I have to survive on just Brutal Shell for 30 seconds. And then we get Aurora, and then we get a big boost of healing. Almost there. That was a lucky parry. 15% off its big tank buster. Like, I just want to remind you all, this boss is such a boss that it gets to have 2 tank busters. It gets 2 of them. You see, that's the one of them, and then it just gets the munchies for the second tank buster, just because one tank buster wasn't enough. Uh-oh. Well, this one I have to just rush down. I don't even think I can do it. I have no healing. I don't know how much damage that was going to do. Oh, this is going to be really, really, really close. Another one. Now we have to survive 40 seconds from half HP instead of full HP as we have done previously. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wait, are you doing it again? That better not come with a green boy. It comes with a green boy. Are you for real? Well, how much damage are we talking here? Oh. Ow. I think I can live that. It only did 2,000. I didn't need to use Super Bolide for that. I think we can do it. I thought it was like an insta-kill. So that's why I used Super Bolide for it, because I'm like, well, it's probably killing me. But 2,000. We can do 2,000. We go again. I think we can do that. I just need to play super safe. Yeah, exactly, Matthew. That wasn't happening on minimum item level. Ever. Not in a million years. Exactly, Ethereal Oblivion. The broken thing with Gunbreaker is Brutal Shell. It's just the thing that can be misleading with Gunbreaker is that when you're soloing bosses as a tank, the way that you win is by overwhelming the enemy with survivability. But in a lot of fights, you're going to experience that the boss is actually more capable of overwhelming you rather than the other way around. And when that's the case, it becomes a DPS race, and Gunbreaker is not the best at winning a DPS race. Like, it just isn't. Simply because you have to make the choice between healing yourself a lot or dealing a lot of damage. So what we're doing here at the start is, while I have all my cooldowns, I'll go a little harder on damage so that we can like get some tools on cooldown. Because if you don't use them, then they just go to waste, right? But as soon as we have that, I'm just going to like try and play defensively. If I can benefit from skipping solid barrel, then we're skipping solid barrel. But as long as I can't do that, then we're not doing that. I'll use camouflage and I'll keep Rampart for the blobs. And we have a potion. And keep Rampart for the blobs, so that we can reduce the damage of the stack marker specifically. Ow. Come on. Blob time? Isn't it supposed to be blob time, Myeth? Myeth. Myeth. If that even is your real name. Three says, have you tried Stone Vigil? Yes, I have, and I have soloed it. I believe we did it with Warrior. And the reason why Warrior could do it is because of Thrill of Battle. It gave, like, just barely the amount of damage that we needed to make it through the Wibben boss. You know, the one that got reworked with the cyclones and such. Like, we're talking, it made precisely the difference that we could kite the boss while making up the damage difference, which we couldn't do with Dark Knight, which, by the way, actually beats Gunbreaker in self-sustain in some ways, because it both does more it does the same healing and more damage than Gunbreaker in the Stone Vigil level range. It's quite funny how that plays out. Yeah, we can. Stone Vigil can be done. The male Darkhold can also be done, but I have not beaten that one because I simply can't spin the final boss fast enough. But someone else has. Wrath Games. They found a trick where, like, if you spin the boss like this, they spent like a almost invisible but very significant amount of time all the time turning to face you, which reduces the amount of damage you'll take over time. Right. So here's the thing. I cannot beat the blob guy in time. So I'm just going to take the hit. I'm just going to have to survive it and reduce the damage it does as much as possible. So over here. So basically playing Bloodborne. Maybe? Spin around the boss till it dies. Yeah, kind of. Just aim for the butt. Oh, this is going to be very tight. It's a lot of damage. I just have to spend this no mercy window just brutal shelling to survive. I just need to recover. And we have a potion. We're using that immediately. We also have camouflage. Maybe use that. Yeah, basically, you can make bosses waste a ridiculous ridiculous amount of time by spinning them and running away from them between attacks, because they are not going to run to you until they actually have something for you. So if you step away from them, they're going to spend like 1 second running up to you when they finally have an attack to spend. Hey, yes, guess where we're going? We're going over here. Can you walk with me? Come on. Wait, did it miss? I didn't see any damage. Did it miss? With this new knowledge, I'll spin the boss next time I tank. Yeah, so an interesting little detail there is that your melee DPS is going to hate you for that. That sweet 1 level difference dodge chance. Nice. Nice. A second try. We just needed to discover the blob thing. Now there's just the rest of the dungeon. My combo ran out right as I attacked them. Yeah, it's really funny. Also, thank you. Thank you for believing in me, Tracy. Thank you so much. Yeah, the interesting thing is that in soloing content, the scariest thing that mobs can do is just attack you relentlessly. Turns out that there's one thing that is slightly scarier than that, and that's when the boss has 2 tank busters. Like, if you you thought one untelegraphed tank buster was the scariest thing you could ever meet in a solo challenge, introducing 2 untelegraphed tank busters, featuring Myath, the T-Rex. And there's 2 of these blasts again. Thank you, Tekna. Thank you for checking in. The thing is, I'm going to attempt the Aery, even though we know that the final boss can't be beaten, just to see how far we can get. Like, there's nothing... it's not very interesting to know that the final boss can't be beaten solo. If, for example, it turns out you can't even reach the final boss, right? And then it doesn't even matter. It's like one of those like challenge videos where someone like attempts to make their way through it, but before they even start, they're like, well, I know there's this one point that you can't beat. But that's completely irrelevant if there's a point before that that you can't beat. Like maybe there's like, oh, you can't beat it because there's this particular part where you can't actually complete the challenge just as is. But before that, there is actually a genuine reason why you can't beat the challenge. Like, oh, well, you can do the challenge here, it's just the boss is too hard or something like that. If that's the case, then it's more interesting to know than going, well, you can't beat it because this boss just stun locks you. And yeah, case in point, the reason why the Aery cannot be beaten solo is because the final boss can and will stun lock you to death. Like, there's a mechanic that requires one other player to help you. It requires one other player. You can't solo Seed of Sacrifice a wipeout. Yeah, exactly. Why even start? Like, I originally outlined that you can't beat Susano. You can now. Not, like, not synced, and only, like, with Blue Mage can it be done. But it can be done, I believe. It was Matthew that did it, right? I'm pretty sure it was you, Matthew, right? Also, this mob is beating me like crazy hard. What's happening? It's just a random mob just doing more DPS than the T-Rex boss. Exactly, not synced and not in a way that will progress the main quest, because Blue Mage cannot progress the main quest, right? Just give me a moment, Ergo Dragon. Just need some HP, you see. Just walk with me a little bit. I'd rather you don't hang out near where the other dragons are. Just in case they pull, I'd like them to like get a little little cardio before the fight. Can you not do that, sprites? Can you not do that? Are there more sprites coming? Are they leaving me alone now? Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, there's this mechanic that when I was trying 09S soloed, I remember there was this mechanic that I specifically used like shields for, like barriers to block it. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. And there's also a mechanic that I believe requires you to have full HP, otherwise you just die or something like that. And the specific point I had trouble with was that you had to like both have a shield for the follow-up mechanic and also be at full HP or something to that effect. And I spent a good while trying to make the magic happen and then just eventually gave up. I can't remember why, the specific reason for why I gave up, but I think the reason was just that I wanted to also try other things. Like, it was a stream where I was just soloing stuff a little bit at a whim. Like, just random stuff soloing. And someone suggested 09S, so we tried. I was like, yeah, Coco. Channel is almost at 9k. That's quite wild. Hey, Lemon. We hopped out of the dungeon, increased to just synced. I think maybe you were there for that, actually, now that I think about it. Which meant that we have 25% more HP or so. Turns out that was what you needed to kill the T-Rex guy. It turns out the green blob that is supposed to just wipe you outright just does like 2,000 damage. Like, no big deal. So we could just beat it. Now the question is whether we can beat Tio-Man. Tio-Man! Oh, that's unique damage. Ah, interesting. How random. Once again, I'll try and save Rampart in case I need like a big defensive cooldown. But other than that, I'll like try and use stuff a lot, like, as I get it, so that I don't, like, sit on cooldowns forever and just take way more damage than I need to. Excuse me. Oh. A proximity AoE with a maximum range. Hmm. Comet. Is that the thing I had to put in a corner? Yes. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, that did a little bit of damage. Switching to healing mode. Does this boss have a DPS check? I remember there's the thing with the wings, but I'm pretty sure that isn't actually a DPS check. I'm using Rampart now. I feel like I need a defensive cooldown. But Sentinel will be up in a moment. Can I somehow dodge the Abyssal Breath, or whatever it's called, Abyssal Blast? Sentinel. Sorry, Nebula. I don't know why I actually often mix up Sentinel and Nebula. But they have the same effect, so I mean... Didn't know you were playing Paladin. I mean... Give me a shield. Then I'm Paladin with a very heavy sword. Does this boss have like 2 wing phase? Yeah, it does. In fact... Did you do something? What did you do, 3MR? How did you do that? Doesn't this boss have an intermission? Boss just goes, oh yeah, now that you mention it. Thanks, bestie. Almost forgot my wing phase. If this is the wing phase and there's no like DPS check of any kind, then this is pretty fine. It is very manageable. Do we get anything new after that, Tierman? Like anything new you want to like make me? Yeah, exactly. 1 level and like 20 item levels. That's all the difference it made. But apparently it can be done synced. I have a feeling this boss might be doable in minimum item level, but. That's the thing, that's why it was, like, that's the same argument as to why I want to see how much of the Aery we can solo. Because it's still interesting to know how much we can do. Even if it's not all of it. Oh, it's using Darkstar again. That was the thing in the wing phase, right? Oh, keep doing that. That does like no damage. Yeah, 3 mana. It seems that the thing that happens if you don't kill the wings in time is that the boss uses Darkstar, but it turns out that the boss will use Darkstar, and then if you're still alive, then it'll wait a little bit, and then it'll use Darkstar again. It's very scary, but it'll do it again. That's the scary part, you see. See, he's using Darkstar again. It is quite funny because attacks like Darkstar there is like the weakest thing it can do. Does nearly no damage. I could not care less. I actually care a lot about it because I wish it would do it more. I wish it would just spam Darkstar. It reminds me of when we were doing Castrum Meridianum and it turned out that the Enrage at the end of the fight was actually the easiest part of the fight. Because the boss stops using tank busters, which made it way easier. Never thought a green blob would be more scary than a Darkstar. I know. Weird. Like, we're discovering some weird stuff in this dungeon. You thought a big, like a somewhat large lizard would be frightening? Actually, giant caterpillar does more damage. You thought big dragon, like just adult dragon, would be scary, but actually a random large lizard does more damage, but by extension, large caterpillar again. But you thought that was scary. The scariest, like, singular random mob, well, not the scariest, but one of the scariest is kitten with wings. Like, just a slightly smaller than a normal house cat, but it has wings. And I say almost the scariest because we also have Green Blob, T-Rex monster, and that random wyvern just before the 3 dragons that hit like a freight train for some reason. This is why the Dragon Song wall wasn't won by the dragons immediately. They should have just sent in like a squad of caterpillars. Like, apparently they have them under their control somehow. You should just use those. Lemon says, I feel like this Synced Solo series has taught me a lot about bosses. Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity to... Oh, look, the cat has chased us out of the dungeon. It's a great opportunity to see what the mechanics actually do in a dungeon for them to actually be allowed to happen, right? Because that's the thing. Back in the day, the way that the T-Rex fight worked was mostly the way that it works now. The difference is that the blue and the orange blobs, you could attack them. There was just no point, because usually the T-Rex would like grab them and use them before you could kill them. And even if you did like attack them and kill them, the damage you avoided was kind of irrelevant. Yeah, probably warrior time. So it was better to just ignore them. But the green blob, which came like the second round, if you didn't kill that, the explosion of it detonating just flat out wiped your group. Just gone. And the fight was almost always long enough for the green blob to spawn and for you to have the Labyrinth of the Ancients, Ancient Flare Classic. Do we, like the chicken game of, do we just kill the boss and hope that we can make it before the green blob explodes, or do we switch to the blob? Because either you kill the boss or the blob kills you. Nowadays, you typically don't see the green blob spawn. I wasn't even sure it existed. Okay, Ymir, good luck with, I guess you landed in some content. I see dragon loses to a cat and cat loses to green slime. Blob's the everlasting threat. Yeah, I think it's warrior time. It would be either Ravana as a blue mage or warrior in the Aery, but I think we have time to go in the Aery with warrior. But I don't think we have time for both necessarily. Then it starts going like real overtime possibly. I think it's more interesting to go in the Aery. We can always go to Ravana next time. Let me just grab some super potions so we don't run out. Also, rip. Eosian food chain is weird. Very weird indeed. Right, so 56, we have Raw Intuition, we have Fell Cleave. And of course, we're just doing it synced. We already know that the final boss can't even be beaten, so let's give us the best chance we can possibly have. Do I still have a food buff? I do. Let's just extend that so it doesn't run out in the middle of something. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Also, if you're still here, I think I missed telling you last time, but thank you so much for the 6 months of support. I see the fancier icon. Thank you so much. How much healing are we talking here? It's like 3,000. I was actually expecting more. I'm not sure, but that's why but that's because I didn't use an AoE attack. That's me being dumb. Solo Aery sounds like masochism to me, but I'm having fun. See, that's the important thing, is that I would probably not do this just for fun if I was sitting here alone. But I think it's more fun to like look at this together. Like, since we're all here, we can discover what can be done together, and then we can laugh at it together. Almost all solo on masochism. Well, yeah, the thing is, anything that you can do that can be done solo, but you can also do with more people, the only reason to do it alone is because it's funny. Like, that's the only reason to do it alone. See, now we're working with something when I actually remember to use my AoE during Raw Intuition. I think the smarter move is to just stockpile Beast Gauge and then spend my gauge on my AoE options. Like so. You don't even have to use potions. Incredible. No one talking about these two mobs doing more damage than the two-winged boss thing. I know, right? Their auto attacks do more damage than Darkstar. Their auto attacks are more damage than Darkstar. Balancing. I'm pretty sure there used to be a treasure chest in here, and that it got removed. I don't know why they removed it. Is it just 2 mobs? It's just 2 mobs. Wow! Wow! That Cloud Chaser got decimated. Well, actually, it got fell cleaved, but you know what I mean. Maybe the problem with Darkstar is that it's like if you're using your AoE on single target, it doesn't even matter that the attack looks cool, because I mean, you're using AoE on single target. You should use the single target thing. It should have used, like, I don't know, Dark Blast or something, Shadow Blast, Shadow Star or something. I don't know if it has like a single target rotation that it should be using. It just isn't. So one huge thing that I believe there also used to be a chest down there. Like, there's just these side paths that don't do anything now. One big thing that Raw Intuition does for Warrior is that a little bit like Gunbreaker, one of the big problems is that to actually spend your gauge, you had to like drop your guard and use attacks that didn't actually heal you. But by having Raw Intuition, you can make any attack heal you, which sort of remedies that issue. Whoops. And that also means that we can like get Storm's Eye with Mithril Tempest, so we don't have to use Storm's Eye for that, which means we get more healing out of Storm's Path. Like, it's just like a whole bunch of huge advantages that Warrior gets from just having Raw Intuition. The boss is next, right? I'm pretty sure. I want all of my cooldowns and my resources to like really open on it real hard. I believe there's also an ad that we need to keep track of. I can't remember what that does. I think it's a donut AoE. Oh, excellent! That's like just free damage uptime for me. Is that the knockback? The laser beam knockback? Oh. Well, I hope it doesn't do that too many times, because it seems like I have a limited amount of pillars to drop that onto. Abilities that straight up cancel weaknesses. Well, the thing is that this weakness is like a weakness that is specifically when Warrior soloing content. If you were in a group, then it wouldn't actually be particularly significant, because your healer is supposed to be the one that keeps the warrior alive in between Raw Intuition. If they made Astrodogen have no RNG, it wouldn't be as much fun. That's true, but the thing is, that it used to have a lot more. Like, they have actually taken a lot of the RNG out of the job. So I'm a little split here, because on one hand I could keep that mob so that I can self-heal more with Raw Intuition, but that mob also does damage, so I would need more healing if I let it live. There's already another one? Well, it's dead now. Any more rank there? You good? More ads? More ads! A little weird that it just did it like twice like that. That was a little random. Why did it like walk over to the side like that? Let's step over here. This is a problem. We're running out of pillars. We're actually running out of pillars. Either this boss stops doing that when there's not, like either it's something that happens on specific HP thresholds and it's supposed to stop when there's no more pillars, or we're in trouble really soon. Boss figuring out it isn't enough on zones that just keep spamming ads. It's just using the ads as like meat shields, because every time it summons an ad, I have to deal with that. Well, that's the last one. After that, I'll just have to deal with the consequences of not actually dealing with the mechanic, because there's nothing left. I don't have any more. I suppose that is like a soft enrage in a way. He's killing my ads. I'm going to have a lot of cooldowns to like fight through this problem, if it actually becomes a problem. And here it comes, the problem. Paralysis. I thought it was a lot worse than that. Why does the boss like walk into the center like that after I kill the ad? It's just, let's step over here now. You better get your last go with your last ad, huh? Last chance. And it's gone. That was very, very manageable. Is it actually reworked? Because I don't seem to recall what has been removed. I believe the ad used to fixate someone, but you could actually pass who would fixate it. So you could just pass it to the tank. But aside from that, I don't think they've changed anything. He's going to the center because the signal is better. He's like, he pulls out like a phone to call in more ads. Hey yo, he killed my previous ads. I'm gonna need some more. So the huge thing for warriors, absolutely the part where I can basically, like, if the mobs can't kill me naturally within like 20 seconds, then they can't kill me at all. Not as long as there's enough of them for me to like fully heal in between goes like this. And it also leads to a situation where I have like a vested interest in keeping an extra mob alive, especially if it isn't actually doing that much damage, because it lets me heal more easily. Wait, where is that attack landing? Oh. Fell Cleave does a ridiculous amount of damage. You can just see the chunks of the health bar just getting deleted. It's quite insane based, like, compared to what I've had before. I'm just saying, I'm coming from a perspective of, oh, let me count the amount of Ruin 2s I need to kill this mob. Oh, it's over 100? Wonderful. At least you're in the realms of raw intuition now. Yeah, I know, right? It changes some things. Like how you can need to use an AoE attack to not waste your burst. The sad part is that despite the incredible victory lap raw intuition is in its own right, the Aery is a dungeon that cannot be beaten alone. Do you have a plan for Sable Price? No. No. I don't think there's anything you can do. So what we're doing is we're beating the rest of the dungeon to prove that the reason we can't beat the dungeon is because of Sable Price, instead of me just going, well, you can't beat the dungeon, so we'll never know whether you can beat any part of the dungeon. Like, we're beating as much of the dungeon as we can, and then we'll see how low we can bring Nidhogg before he does Sable Price, because there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. He's just going to cast it. Friendship ended with Aurora. Raw intuition is my new best friend. Exactly, Matthew. It's a little ironic. It reminds me of how Dragoons get elusive jump at the same level where you get the navel. Like, the lowest level you get, like, you get elusive jump within, like, a few, within the level range where you can use it. The first piece of content you could possibly feasibly use elusive jump is in the navel, where you can fall off the arena by using elusive jump. Like, you couldn't have planned it better if you're in the business of trolling. You couldn't have planned it any worse if you're in the business of giving someone a cool tool to use and show off. We didn't even have to step away from these 4 mobs. We just took them. It's absolutely insane. This part of the dungeon, by the way, has been reworked quite a lot. There used to be, like, the dragons used to be sleeping. So, like, you had, like, an incentive to avoid them entirely if you could, but some people would pull them anyway. So I guess they just, like, did it like this to, like, remove that confusion. Would it be possible to solo Final Steps of Faith level synced? Maybe with Blue Mage? Maybe with Blue Mage. Didn't the babies scream when you killed them? Yes, but the scream had like a certain AoE radius. So if you just moved them far enough away, it wasn't a problem. Yeah, the ad phase might take too long on Nidhogg, but that's exactly why I'm saying maybe there's a chance that you could do it with a Blue Mage, but I don't know. I have a feeling the answer is no. Generally, once you get to like 8-man content, it starts becoming maybe unsynced. You can do it. Usually unsynced you can do it if it's old enough, and synced it's like either Blue Mage can do it or no one can. That Pegasus horse flying thing would be really hard. In Sorkai? I suppose. Like, you would run out of, like, wall to get knocked into. But yeah, this boss is very different as well. I was just thinking like, oh, it has this whole thing where you have to kill the ads and stuff. But maybe it doesn't have that anymore. Huh. This boss is either obscenely tanky or it's healing. I'm going to guess that it's just really tanky because I've not been paying very much attention to whether it's healing or not. it makes sense that the reworked bosses are super tanky, because they're of course balanced around the fact that nowadays we do like stupid amounts of damage compared to what we used to do. But then again, the older bosses just used to have, like, instead of having the trigger be certain amount of time into the fight, it was like, for example, at certain health thresholds. So if you pushed the boss too hard, it would just like do the mechanics extremely quickly, which could be a little intimidating in its own way. I should not have used Fell Cleave at that very moment. That was a little wasteful. Also used to put disease on someone. That's true. It also used to put down ads, and you actually were supposed to let those ads do their thing for a little bit, because they would like remove the gas around the arena. But if you let it do too much, it would explode. And the explosion was not good. So if you and the thing is, the boss got like a damage boost from standing in the gas that it would spawn. Oops. So I had a lot of situations where I was like, as the healer, for example, I was the only one dealing with the ads, because either I was the only one dealing with the ads, or I was like running around trying to explain to people that you like don't kill them immediately. We need them a little bit. I'm pretty sure it specifically needed to like. So the thing is, Phil, I remember that you could move it out of the gas for it to lose the damage buff. The problem was that the gas had an extremely large, like a surprisingly massive targeting reticle, and for the boss to get the damage bonus, it just had to have their targeting reticles overlap, and the boss's targeting reticle is really big too. So that's why it felt like you hardly could get it out of them. That's how I remember it, at least. Because I remember I could specifically move it out, but I had to move it so much to get it out of the damage bonus. It's really weird, this. Every time I'm like put an effort into like getting out, there's like a very, very, very free spot. Tells us maybe I feel like if that were the case, more people would have done it. Nope, because it means the tank would lose uptime. People didn't do it because it required the tank to move out of melee range for several seconds, because the boss was very unresponsive. Like, it was almost like the boss knew that it was annoying. Like, it knew what you were trying to do and was like, you know, I don't actually feel like stepping out of my damage buff, so if you can just come over here. Adrio says, I wonder what the chains will do. I'm pretty sure it requires at least 2 targets to actually use the chains. So if there's only 1 player alive, it'll just skip. Man, this boss is chunky. Wow, it's tanky. I feel like I've been here for a year. Yeah, so a random mob, I use Fell Cleave with Berserk up, and it does like 18% or more of their HP. This boss, it's like 1 or 2%. We're almost there! Almost there! Bonk. How long was that? That boss took 8 minutes to kill. Just 8 minutes of that. That was absolutely ridiculous. An interesting thing with time, Phil, is that the first time we ran into trouble with time, like the time constraint actually being an issue, was with Castrum Meridianum. Like, we discovered that it can be done, but we had to do it in 2 sets because the wipes I had meant I didn't have enough time for the final boss. But we could calculate how much time I would have had if I hadn't wiped, and then we went from there. The second time we had problems with time running out was in Wanderer's Palace, and that was when we discovered that doing endgame content solo at minimum item level is not going to work. For 1 minute 30 kill time with a full group, that's... yeah, okay, that's about right. Like, you have 3 more players, that makes sense. And 2 of them are DPS. And they might not have to step away from the boss nearly as much. You landed in Albonum Monastery as Black Mage. Well, that's difficult, but I know you can do it. Denizens of the Abyss, from ink of blackest night, I summon you. Black Mage steps forth. You called? You're not going to be able to tap out. That's true, but I think you kind of signed up for that when you queued as Black Mage. I really like this kind of mob where its whole thing is that it has like specific poses and it like is a tell for a specific telegraph instead of having a proper telegraph. I just wish that it like they had more to it. Like maybe it had fake outs where like it would like raise one hand, but there's like a little tell, like a sneaky tell where you know that it's actually a fake out. Like it's actually going to swing with the other hand instead and things like that. But never done that. Gjallarhorn. 3 things. They're actually doing quite a lot of damage on me. There we go. Now we can deal with the remaining 2. I had a feeling that the wyvern-looking thing was going to be the more dangerous one, because in the previous dungeon it was. Like, it actually did a ridiculous amount of damage, just randomly a single mob, just doing an absolutely insane amount of damage for no reason. Well, no reason. None of these things have any reason to them, I suppose. Why do these mobs have to hurt so? I just want to progress this dungeon. Why do they have to fight so hard to prevent me from doing that? Exactly, why does anything happen in a game? Why does this ability have to have a cooldown of this much? Because someone thought it was good? It's a down wyvern. Not to be confused with an up wyvern. Or an up dog. Oh, now there's two of them. Excellent. Not exactly what I had hoped for. One of them was quite strong already. Welcome back, Emir. Did you win? Did you do the thing? What have you missed? 8 minutes of me fighting the second boss in this dungeon, among other things. I think I'll just use regular attacks for this so that I can engage Nidhogg with a full beast gauge, because we're probably not going to try more than like once or twice. Or maybe we'll discover that he doesn't use Sable Price. He went to go buy something. Well, did you find it? Did you win? Did you get the thing? You won! Nice! Question? So originally, the way this fight worked was that Estinian just kind of stood here, like holding the eye, which was the reason why Nidhogg had this debuff or effect, because like Estinian was actively doing that. Estinian isn't here to do that anymore, but Nidhogg still has the effect. Oversight? Like, I understand why they removed him. The thing is that, first of all, if you do this dungeon in duty support, then Estinian is actually in your party, so it wouldn't make sense for him to also be there. But I'm just saying that this doesn't need to be there, I think. Or is it explained in the cutscene that I can't remember? Matthew says he's now just impressed you made it to him solo. His debuff is that he's like, are you kidding me? Why are you here? You know you can't solo me. Why are you here? Cal says, I wonder if they just assumed most new players would just use duty support. That's true, but I think they just like removed him for both that reason and also the other reason is that Estinian could die from AoE damage, and if Estinian died, you wouldn't lose in the first phase, if I remember correctly, but in the intermission, the big finale of the intermission has him like summon like a shield, like a dome shield over him, and if he's not there to do it, you just wipe. And that means that the only thing that Estinian did in the old version of this fight was that he was there, needed to be kept alive, but not all healers realized that you could even heal him, or that he might need healing for that matter. So sometimes he would just die and you would just wipe for some silly reason like that. I think the other dungeon that has this kind of issue is Tamtara Deepcraft part. There's this boss where there's like an NPC in the center, and if he dies, you wipe. And you have to like intercept orbs that travel towards him to like block damage for him. But the healer can just heal him. The healer can just heal him. Problem solved, right? Like, I mean, he can't survive that much damage, and it's just easier to soak it because the healer can just AoE heal. And I'm pretty sure that the Scholar Fairy will not heal him, so like spreading the damage to people that it will heal is better. But the simple fact that you could wipe that fight because the healer didn't realize that they had this objective that they needed to deal with was just awkward. Anyway, we set up, I don't know why I'm turning him actually, but here we are. Oh, you have Deafening Blow too, you know, I believe the first boss had that as well, or was that someone else? Maybe it was a boss in the previous dungeon, I can't even remember. It's very nice that they added Hot Tail and Hot Wings, because that used to be a mechanic that was in the final steps of Faith only, I believe. Ah. Oh boy. Takes like 60% damage from each orb. Yeah, so yeah, here comes Sable Price. Ow. Oh, and a tank buster. That's a lot of damage. 88%. I don't think we can do better than that. I almost died to him just wailing on me, and then it was just like, oh, that's not enough? How about this? Just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... So 10 million damage? 10 million damage. We almost survived that. Like, if I had like one more level, I'm pretty sure I would have survived it. Interestingly, most fights before Shadowbringers only did 1 million damage. That is pretty interesting. I wonder why they changed that. I've taken more. Yeah, anyway, so to conclude on that, you cannot beat the Aery solo, the Aery solo, but almost. The new channel meme? If I had one more level. Just one more level. Exactly, Tom. That is actually also the reason why you cannot beat Susano normal solo without like using Blue Mage and shenanigans. You cannot beat it because if you don't deal with his like exactly you have to skip such a mechanic because the sword slash that Susano does, if you don't block it, does I'm pretty sure it was 10 million damage. I'm pretty sure it was 10 million. So you can't live it. It's just not possible. And the specific thing is that it does 10 million unique damage. And if you've played like League of Legends, then unique damage is basically true damage. You cannot reduce it. You cannot invuln it. It will just hit you through everything and do 10 million. Like just the 9s uninterrupted for any reason. So there's nothing you can do. If you cannot skip such a mechanic, you just die. And the reason why Susano normal is that impossible because of it is simply because he can cancel out of mechanics to jump into his intermission if you burst him too hard. Like he will just stop whatever he's doing. Actually, even worse than that, he will like summon thunderclouds, which is like a mechanic. He'll be in the middle of a cast that is supposed to go alongside them, and then he'll just cancel that cast. The thunderclouds stay, and he'll just leave and put down the thing that you have to tank with the thundercloud shooting over it. You think you can shield it? Not that that helps. That's true. Since shields give you more HP, you could do that, but because it's 10 million, it's 10 million. You're not going to live that. Yeah, I think it was a good go. We gave it a good try. We discovered that we could almost beat the Aery. We could beat everything except Sable Price. And that's what I wanted to see. Because I wanted to know for sure that it was Sable Price that could not be beaten. There were some packs that were quite dangerous, but the thing is we could probably had kited them. But we didn't need to. In fact, that dungeon was over so fast that by the time we had by the time we had to give up on a Sohm minimum item level, that was the time where we gave up here. I'm pretty sure that it said 48 minutes. It's like we managed to do all of the Aery and fail it completely in the same time it took me to try to beat Mieth in Sohm, and then having to give up. Nobody splits the ads? Wait, which fight is that? I'm a little confused, Phil. But yeah, if you could get enough HP and enough shield, you might be able to survive a mechanic like that. That is actually... I heard that... so I've said in videos and on stream that I have no idea why vitality potions exist. So, or vitality tinctures. So like this one, but for vitality. The obvious reason, of course, being it's a primary stat. I think they go under this? Yeah. It's just because it's a primary stat, right? It's just, that's the reason why they exist. But when would you use that? Like, when would you use a vitality tincture? There's, like, any situation where you would want to use a vitality tincture. Like, a vitality tincture gives you, like, like 8% more HP if you're a tank. Maybe 10, like closer to 10% if you're not a tank. Like if you're a healer, you get maybe 9, close to 10%. Yeah, I'm getting to that. Exactly, Phil. So there's like, when would you need, even like, when would you need 10% more HP? When? And in any situation where 10% more HP would actually help you, couldn't you just, like, I don't know, couldn't you just, like, do this and this? Problem solved, right? Like, just big shield, probably more than 10% HP. And if you already did that and you need 10% more, what's preventing you from doing this? Well, that you have a scholar, but they could put down Sacred Soil equivalently, right? Like, there's so many, like, 10% you can, like, reduce the damage, so having 10% more HP is just not that impressive. So the argument is that, like, anything that a Vitality Tincture could do, anything a Vitality Tincture could do will not do more than, like, another cooldown from someone. So you would need to have an absolutely ridiculous amount of damage, like an absolutely ridiculous hit that everyone is hit by, so everyone has to use a Vitality Tincture or something like that to make it actually helpful. And then everyone had to use a Vitality Tincture, I suppose. But turns out there is a situation where you would use a Vitality Tincture. Why, Coco? Why do you want me to melt a piety materia into your chest piece? You are aware piety doesn't work for Dark Knights, right? You are aware it doesn't work, right? I mean, I can do it for you, but I don't know why you would want that. Ginano says, I was thinking maybe you could Salted Earth to kill the Sable Prize, but it won't be enough. The thing is that Salted Earth deals, like, not a lot of damage. Like, not a lot of damage, all things considered, so it wouldn't be enough. The idea is good. I went over this in the Can You Solo Final Fantasy XIV video, where it basically said, like, I included that you could use duty support. Technically, you're playing alone, so any content where you can bring duty support, you do that. That doesn't matter. Most of the content you can bring duty support for, you can solo just fine. So it's not even significant. But Susano, you cannot bring duty support for, and you cannot solo him, not even with Salted Earth or Doton. And I actually, like, I grabbed Sip, brought him with me, I'm pretty sure it was Sip, so that we could go in together, so that I could test and see, can Doton, unsynced even, with, like, max level gear, can Doton kill the sword? And if I remember correctly, the answer was no. Like, one Doton wasn't enough. And if one Doton isn't enough, then you're out of luck. Like, one thing being, like, you would have to fight Susano genuinely as a ninja instead, and also put down the Doton. Maybe at 100 Hyosho Ranryu will do enough. Maybe. That could be, like, if you can get to a point where a regular job can just, like, burst Susano from 50% and down, then maybe. Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm wondering how much damage Hyosho Ranryu does to Susano right now, because I can't remember. And also, Sib, it wouldn't be unlike you to not remember it. I also just randomly asked you to do it, so it's not too absurd that it would, like, be something you don't even remember. Like, for you, it's just like, oh, Kai asking me to help him with something weird again. Sure. I guess I can help you. Coco says, I watched a video about how good it was. Actually, now that is a very, very expensive meld. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that, Gogo? Just for the memes. 700k needed. Remember to count Epic Echo. Epic Echo is 60%, isn't it? See, 43,000 plus like 80 or 90% if it's like a critical direct hit. We could even just say double it. Then we're at like 86,000. We would still need... Even if it was 90,000, just to round up to an easier number to work with, we would need 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 8 times more than that. We need 700% extra damage from Echo. Yours just maybe 115,000 right now. I suppose if you actually have really like proper optimized gear. The reason why, just in fairness, the reason why I'm just casting Hyosho Ranryu from a standstill position is because if your damage is so massive, so incredibly massive, that you can do 700,000 damage with Hyosho Ranryu, then Suiton, Trick Attack, and Mug is probably going to make Susanoo into the intermission in the first place. So you might not actually have any other GZDs. Like you might have like one GZD in total, and then you have to use your Hyosho Ranryu. So you might not have the opportunity to set up any damage bonuses. What is Obon? Obon Monastery. Obon Monastery is the final part of the Stormblood Alliance Rage series. Yeah. It's, I believe it has a lot of references to Final Fantasy Tactics, right? And I think Final Fantasy XII? The bad one. Is it that bad? I don't think it's that bad. I think it's fun. It's just, it's a little long. And people are likely to fail a lot because they don't get it much. But if you ever wanted to like grind something like Obon Monastery, now would be the time. Simply because people are doing it for Mogtones. Like, they're also doing other stuff for Mogtones. Obon Monastery is not effective for Mogtones. It is simply, and we talked about this day before yesterday on the Mogtone farming stream, that if you're doing something that you're going to do anyway, or you'd want to do anyway, then getting 14 Mogtonestone stones just as a bonus, that's pretty good, right? That's pretty nice. That's just free stuff. What is the best for Mogtones? The best for Mogtones turns out to be, right now, people discovered that the best option is Hidden Gorge, like its rival wings. Simply because you can sometimes finish a match in under 5 minutes. Or in 5 minutes. And if you can win that match, like if you can win that match, you get 2 Mogtones per minute. Second place goes to doing P1N with a pre-made group with 1 tank and 7 DPS. Then you can beat it in 2.5 minutes if everyone's playing properly. 2.5 minutes. So that's like slightly more than 1 tome per minute. But then you also, have to zone out, queue again, maybe someone leaves, you have to regroup, stuff like that. And if you don't want to do that, then like third place I think is like just queue for frontline for similar reason. Like similar reason to the rival wings one, that the average time of a frontline match is low enough that it's pretty good. And if you don't want to do PvP, then it circles back and becomes just queue for P1N, P11N, I believe is, P11N. And I think P9N is pretty decent clear time as well. But those are like closer to 1 tombstone per 2 minutes. So like the amount of time it takes exponentially increases almost. There's a bunch of other things. Yeah, P9N or P11N. I recommend P11N. I feel like that one's more consistent. There's of course also the part that I've been told that people have had instant queues in Rival Wings recently. But if you have a long queue for Rival Wings, then it kind of just like flies out the window, just immediately irrelevant. Looks like either Coco had a very, very fast queue or queued for something else. What does the N stand for? Normal. Stands for normal. The thing is, usually people say P9 or they say P9S. Like, they add the S for savage. But the reason why we might say P9N is if the distinction is significant. Like, if it's actually really important that it's specifically the normal version. Then people might say, like, add the N. And the thing is that if we're talking about something to farm, then just saying P9 might not be significant, like, might not be good enough. Like, people would be like, do you mean the Savage version? Like, it depends on who you ask. If you ask a Savage Raider, they might say, are you talking about the Savage version? You're talking about a casual player, they might just assume it's the normal version. So that's why there's the distinction. It's a little bit like League, I think, Coco. But it's just 15 minutes at most. I've actually never tried Rival Wings. Maybe I'll try it later. Yeah. Rival Wings, pre-made P1, not like frontline queuing, P1 or 11 or 9. Just queue normally. Like, those are decent options. But basically, if you don't want to do any of those, anything that has this icon next to it, right? If it has this icon saying you get Mogtonestone, ask yourself, if I like times this number by 2, like 16, could I beat it in 16 minutes? Like, can I do this? Can I do Tower of Zod in 16 minutes? If the answer is yes, then it's a decent option. It's not amazing. It's not amazing, as I said. Rival Wings, you can get over 1, like you can get nearly 2 Mogtones per minute if you're like really a little lucky. You win and you do it quickly. Pre-made P1, you can get over 1 Mogtone per minute. Again, that requires some prep time, but everything else, it's like just nosediving down to around half a Mogtone per minute. So if you can do any content that awards these tombstones in twice the amount of minutes that you're awarded, then it's okay. The ones that are really bad is Praetorium is like on the edge of not being worth it, and Porta de Cumana is not good. Just off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure all the near alliance raids are bad as well. And technically anything from P2 to P8 that takes significant, especially P5 to P8, that take significantly longer than P1 and award the same amount. It's just like shooting yourself in the foot. Just do P1 if that's what you're doing anyway. The only reason why these are a little bit more like manageable is because they give an extra tombstone to compensate for the longer time investment. I think also the Crystal Tower raids are like not really worth it. Like, you might be able to do Circus Tower in 12 minutes. If everyone's, like, really bringing it. But on average, they're not. On average, they're not. So you can't assume that they are. You just can't. And the reason why we did Dunskate Tuesday on the stream was because Dunskate can be done in 28 minutes. But Weeping City of Ma cannot be done in 20 minutes, and Void Ark cannot be done in 12 minutes. But Dunskate can be done in 28 minutes. Just to be clear, Ymir, I don't recommend the Crystal Tower raids. I'm saying you might possibly be able to do Circus Tower, but I don't recommend doing it because that requires like perfect play, which you cannot expect from randoms. And if you're making a pre-made to farm this, why aren't you just making a pre-made for this? Like, like if you're making a pre-made anyway for like spamming Circus Tower with Blue Mages or something, it's easier to make a pre-made for P1, and it's better. So there's no point. In my experience, I've noticed that you get a lot more variety in what alliance raids you get out of the alliance raid roulette these days. But if you don't like Obon Monastery, it's on the better side as well. Like, the thing is, you might be able to beat Obon Monastery in 28 minutes. Like, that might be possible, but I don't think you can beat it around the Lighthouse in 24 minutes, or Royal City of Rabanastre in 20. I want to get 200 tomestones by the end of the event. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that we've been told that the next major patch is coming early October. We know that. And this tombstone event is lasting until the next major patch. Which means that you have over a month. If you only need 200 tomestones, all you need to do to get your fill is like, I don't know, like do Euphrosyne once a day. Like, once a day. Just once. Just a single time Euphrosyne every day. For like 2 weeks. And then you're done. 200 per character. Okay, so 2 Euphrosyne runs. Just as an example, because that gives 14. Doesn't have to be Euphrosyne. You just need to collect like 10 a day. Just 10 a day. Then you'll have it done in 20 days. And you have over a month. So you can have skip days. Like, you don't have to do it every day. I want like 600 mock tomes. And I calculated that I need to farm less than 15 a day at this point. Like, I can also just do Euphrosyne once a day and I'll be good. Like, don't like power grind. It'll just burn you out. Don't power grind. Just do something, whatever, once a day, and you'll get it. I know, Ymir. That's why I said it doesn't have to be Euphrosyne, but it can be anything that gives like 10 mock tomes. Like, you could do Praetorium if you wanted to. You could do Weeping City of Ma. You could unlock that on Isabella and do that. Don't know if you actually want to do that, but if you're aiming for 10, you could do that. Matthew says, what are you all getting? I have 160 tomestones of stuff I even kind of want. Finds list. So I bought the Fat Cat umbrella, and I bought the 10th anniversary Framers kit. And then I just wrote down everything that I don't have. So like the Warrior of Light card. There's a hairstyle. I think that's actually 2 hairstyles? That's at least one hairstyle. There's the samurai barding. There's the big shell whistle. Technically, that can be farmed from the firmament, but I just don't do that. There's a few orchestrion rolls. There's the toad outfit. I never got that. Can't be bothered to go and get it. There's a few other cards, like a bunch of things. Like you can if you just write down every single item that you don't have, the number might increase quite drastically. Some players that don't have the Stormblood mounts, that just 210 right there. You need, I believe there's 7, right? I'm pretty sure there's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. And then there's the Rathalos mount separately. How many tomes do you need to get everything? Well, you would at least need 900. Given that I wrote down everything that I didn't have and need 660. And then you need 210 for the doggos. So like, if you want everything, you need over 900. Well, Fel, what qualifies as major stuff? What qualifies as major stuff? I feel like you're discounting some things because you just don't care about them. You can keep buying consumable. That's true. Like, all of these items that can have a check mark are technically things to collect, right? Why would I do that? I don't know, Phil. The simple fact that you said 400 when I know that there's like 210, actually there's like 300 worth of mounts that I already had. Actually closer to 400 worth of mounts that I already have, and I could still find over 600 worth of things. Like there's a huge amount of stuff that you could get. I think there might be like close to 1,000 worth of tomestones if you want everything. The one thing that I wouldn't count is that, well, there's this. Don't know why you would buy that, but that's technically one you could buy in infinite amounts. You could buy infinite amounts of the cards. Like, you could do that and just trade them for MGP if you wanted to. There's these furniture items. You could buy as many as you like of those. So, like, there's a bunch of items that have no upper limit. Also, there's the Verdant Petition. How much did those cost again, Zip? Zip says, which one from the restoration is it that you don't have? I don't have the Big Shell Whistle. Zip says, I'd consider only the uniques to the event as major, like the Parasol and the Anniversary Plate. That's fair. That would make it 110, right? Maybe. I think so. Yeah, I wonder if they're actually still worth that much, given that you can buy the Verdant Petitions for Mogtones now. Wouldn't surprise me if some people went, well, there's money in this. In check. Whoops, 1 T too many. Huh? Huh. Weird. It's like 300,000 in EU. Samurai Barding was around 800k. That probably explains, maybe. Well then. Yeah, so the thing is, just to touch on that, if you reach a point where you already have all of the items you could ever want for the Mogtones, you could turn your Mogtones into money. But with all these options, every single item that is tradable, like, you know, music, you should, like, if you're in the business of selling these items, just to touch on that, you should write down their selling price on your world specifically, because you're going to be posting it there, of course. And then you need to make sure that you divide the selling price by the number of tomestones that it costs. It doesn't matter that for example, you could sell... What can you sell, actually? That you could buy a Paysa Patissier here for 7 and sell 10 of those for a decent profit if, like, Insufficient Petticoats sells for 20 times that, right? That's obviously going to be more effective. Like, write down both the price and how many it costs to get it. Probably a more effective way to get it. Wish raid gear would pop up more often for Mogtones. Old Savage gear would be cool. It's pretty funny. I remember there was, like... I think there's been at least once or twice back to back where they, like, randomly had, like, Drowned City of Scala outfits. Like, one time I believe they had, like, the tank outfit, and the following season they had, like, the healer outfit. And Swallow's Compass as well, yeah, that's true. Just randomly, like, some set from a dungeon a long time ago that you can easily farm yourself now. Like, it's not that incredible, it's, like, very, very pointless, actually. You can just go and farm it. Why would you use Mogtones on it? It would be better if they added, like, old Savage gear sets that's actually a problem to farm. Ymir, what you could do is you could make, you know, you could ask on the Discord community server whether there's anyone that wants to join you for it. Like, you probably don't need a full party. I'm pretty sure O12S you can do with 4 people quite easily. Especially in the kind of gear we have now. You just need a few players. Is it that bad? Anytime I've asked, no one answered. I don't know if it's the time of day where you've asked. 6? What? I mean, I'm pretty sure my free company managed to do it with like 6 people 2 raid tiers ago. I'm pretty sure. And that was not very optimal. It was noon on a Saturday. I mean, I don't mind if you repeatedly ask Ymir, like, you can do that. You can just, like, if you're still looking for it, like, if you're still looking for it, you can just try and ask. Alternatively, you can also make a party finder group, and whenever you make a party finder, like, plan to make a party finder group, you can just mention it on the Discord server to see if anyone wants to come along. Maybe you don't have to make one. Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that, Emir. You've asked like 4 times, have you? Hmm. Well, that's annoying. Hey, Harley. Hope you're doing well. You're catching like the end of the stream. We to summarize, we went into Sohm, discovered that doing it at minimum item level was a problem. It was too hard. We couldn't beat the T-Rex boss with the blobs. Then we went out, set it to just synced, went in again, and beat the dungeon. Then we went into the Aery as warrior with raw intuition, beat the entire dungeon except Nidhogg because Sable Price. You cannot beat Nidhogg solo synced because of Sable Price. But yeah, that's what we managed. And then we've just been talking about Mogtones and other things. It might help to ask a few days in advance, Emir. That might help. You need an area dot. You don't just need an area dot. You need an area dot that does a lot of damage because Doton or Salted Earth isn't good enough. Synced. The key here is synced. You have to remember. That's the problem. Anything in Final Fantasy XIV where you get crowd controlled and you need to like do damage while you're crowd controlled, the obvious answer to that is just place down like an area dot so that you can do damage while you're crowd controlled. Most of the time, if you're in synced content, if not all, if like not, just to not exclude an exception, but basically that ground dot is not going to be enough ever if you're synced. Like, even unsynced, it might not be enough. But it's a good idea, and it's a pretty common idea I've discovered. Almost every time I've said, oh, there's this thing, the crowd controls you so you can't beat it, the instant response is like, aha, you need a ground AoE. Like, a ground area dot. That's the solution. And it would be. It's just that there is no such thing as an area dot that is strong enough. The fungal goblin in the return to Endwalker Keep does that when it eats you and you need to damage the belly to free yourself. Yeah, exactly. And Bells' Wall, we haven't gotten to that yet. But Bells' Wall, he will chain someone and you would have to attack yourself. Like, attack the chain on yourself to free yourself. The final boss in Holminster Switch will chain you. The thing is that the chain itself, in the case with Holminster Switch, doesn't actually hurt you. And I believe the chain just ends after a certain amount of time. Like, it's a crowd control that lasts a fixed number of seconds and then it just ends. So the real kicker here is, can you survive the attack that the boss uses on you while you cannot dodge it? Yeah, exactly, it's so long that you cannot invuln it. And Kugane Ohashi is a good example as well. The thing is, Fel, that I don't think that people really view them as insta-kill mechanics simply because, I don't know, ignoring a boss mechanic and then being surprised that it kills you as the punishment, it's not that surprising, is it? Is it? Like it's expected. That's the reason why that you will see me do content like unsynced, or I'll realize this attack isn't threatening to me. I'll still step out of the telegraph just in case, because maybe that telegraph gives me like paralysis or doom or something, and then I'm the idiot, right? So I just don't take any chances. Like, if you choose to ignore the boss mechanic, then the boss is in its full right to punish you how it sees fit. And if that is, oh, you get doom and it's unremovable, then you should have dodged. And that's why it's quite funny that in Stigma Dreamscape, for example, the final boss summons an ad, it cleaves half the room, walks up, auto swings on the tank like once, and then it self-destructs. The self-destruct does like 10% of your HP in damage to the healer, and then applies a vulnerability stack. The damage is irrelevant, and the vulnerability stack increases the damage from the rest of the fight that isn't that threatening. Then it summons down another ad that cleaves over half the room with a giant cone, swings at the tank like once or twice, and then self-destructs. Does like 10% of the healer's HP in damage, 11 if you have a vuln stack, and gives you another vuln stack. If you put up barriers, you can actually block the vuln stacks. Like with a Sage or a Scholar. You can just straight up block them. That is the reason why people have like started to do stuff like ignoring the ads sometimes, because there's no punishment. That's why mechanics need to have like some sort of cruel punishment. Exactly, there's a bunch of mechanics that do nothing unless they do health damage, like the knockback in Ifrit. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of mechanics like that. I like that. In fact, we talked about soloing 09S earlier, and part of what makes that soloable is the fact that there are certain mechanics that just fail to connect if you block it. And Warrior can block it because Bloodwedding gives you a barrier, and Shake It Off gives you a barrier. It's quite funny. And with the Ifrit thing in particular, I think it's really funny because the only jobs that can actually block the eruption thing there in the normal version of the dungeon, or the normal version of the trial, is Ninja and Summoner. Because the barrier healers don't have a barrier until level 30 and 35 for a Scholar and an AoE one. But at level 50, I've actually discovered that there is a benefit to just every time Ifrit does the knockback, just cast Succor or Eucratian Prognosis, just bury up everyone so they don't get knockbacked, because every time everyone gets shoved back, all of the casters lose like 1 GCD of cast time, because they're just sliding and can't cast. And all of the melee DPS lose a half to a full GCD, being pushed back, having to run back in, and then continuing. So if you can sacrifice like 1 GCD to give everyone else in your raid a GCD, that's pretty good. It's also like Smileton, where there's the mine you can intercept. Anyway, that is actually some smart solo content shenanigans. If you have the barriers to block a mechanic, you can do it. It's just very rare that it comes up, because if you're soloing with a job that has regular access to barriers, like a healer, then the boss is just going to eat the barrier with an auto attack. If you're a job that doesn't have easy access to barriers, then, well, you might not have a barrier to put up in time. Yeah, exactly, Harley. Warrior can block it with Bloodwedding and Shake It Off. Dark Knight can block it with TBN, Gunbreaker can block it with Super Bolide, and Paladin can block it with Hallowed Ground. It's quite funny that all of the tanks have some sort of solution. Now, I'm thinking next time we will start by attempting soloing Ravana with Blue Mage, because you can't solo Ravana synced with a normal job. You can't do that. There's the DPS check. The boss does too much damage. You don't have raw intuition yet. And then I think we will try the Vault. I don't think we will do Bismarck, because I happen to know that Bismarck is actually has a brutal DPS check. Like an insane DPS check, because of the two ads becoming almost invulnerable if they're next to each other. So you have like 10 seconds to kill one of them. And then you have 1.5 minutes to kill them both. It's too strict. I tried. We're going to do Ravana with Blue Mage, and then the Vault with a normal job. And then I'm thinking maybe Great Cabal Library with a normal job. That's going to be interesting with all of the ads that are going to spawn on the final boss. But for this time, we've done Sohm. We showed how much you can beat in the Aery, and that's all she wrote. Even unsynced Bismarck EX can be a pain if you don't hold burst and nuke. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can be a little annoying. It's also the part that Bismarck EX just takes a long time. Forced. That's really annoying. Now, if you enjoyed the people in the stream, remember that there's a Discord community server where you can find some of these wonderful people here. Maybe you're already there. You'll also find the weekly schedule for the channel, where you can see what's coming up in the next week. It gets updated about every Sunday or Monday. And there's an announcement channel, where you will see whenever I plan a new stream, post a new video, whatever it is, it usually shows up first on the Discord server. And if you did enjoy this stream in particular, then I would very much appreciate if you left a like on the stream. That helps me very much with the YouTube algorithm and all that jazz. And I think that's everything that I have for tonight. So, good night, good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are in the world, and I hope to see you all very soon. Bye-bye!